Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our conference today that we will discuss about a very interesting point of discussion. After this is the fourth day, we are in the conference of the Hannover Messe, and Indonesia as a country partner talk a lot about the investing on the industry and also discuss about the readiness of the technology that can apply and adopt in Indonesia. And now, today, with all the stakeholders and the best speaker that what we have today, we will discuss about the one of the key point on the digital transformation, which is talk about the readiness of the people and the talent. So we will discuss about the investing human capital for industrial competitiveness. So for that, I would like to invite our speakers, Pak Muhammad Rudi Salahuddin, to go to the stage with us. And we invite Ibu Kiki Yulianti and also Mr. Luke Leveren. So, okay. So today with us, we have already Pak Muhammad Rudi Salahuddin. Pak Muhammad Rudi Salahuddin is the Deputy Minister for Digital Economy, Manpower, and MSMEs, Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs. So today, Pak Muhammad Rudi Salahuddin will share with us about his talk on what we should prepare and what we need to be aware about the readiness of the technology. We talk about the TVET and how is the concern of Indonesia on investing human capital for industrial competitiveness. So for the further time, Pak, I would like to give the time for you to explain and share your talk. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak Fadli. Pak Fadli for the introduction and a very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Rudi Salahuddin that I already introduced with Pak Fadli before. So I would like to present about the TVET policy and regulations and also the implementation in Indonesia. First, I would like to give you some glimpse about the labor force situation in Indonesia. So we have 143 million people in the labor force situation right now in Indonesia. So from that amount, from that number, it's 61%. From that number, I think we have 5 sectors as the highest labor absorption in Indonesia with a share to GDP. One of them is a manufacture. So from the manufacture itself, 6% is under the subsectors of the industry 4.0. So because of the importance of the priority sectors, so we have to prepare all the human resource in that areas. So, but the challenge is we are lack of the engineering and also the math and science backgrounds in Indonesia. So that's our biggest challenge to jump for to have make a leapfrog for the how to prepare or how to fulfill the number of amounts in priority subsectors. So right now, Indonesia is in the advantages of the demographic dividends potential. So we have to be as a high-income country in 2035. So our presidents have determined 5 main directions as a strategy to achieve the goals of Indonesia Vision 2045. One of them is the human capital development. The human capital development right now is one of our priority, consisting not only the TVET, but also the general education. So we have to prepare all the demographic dividend potential to become the high productive labor force. So because of that, the president of Indonesia, the government of Indonesia, issuing the presidential regulations last year related to revitalization of technical and vocational education and training. So it consists several points. One of them is enhancing better TVET delivery and also improving TVET governance and encourage private sector involvement. So it's not like here in Germany that all the companies have mandatory to become a member of Chamber of Commerce, but in Indonesia is not mandatory. So that's why we have to have strong involvement to get the private sector involvement in the TVET. So I'm talking about the chronological history of TVET reform. So the TVET reform is right now in Indonesia is cooperated with German government, especially after the President Jokowi visit the Chancellor Merkel back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then after that, we try to make a white paper for the TVET reform, and then we established the National Coordination Team for TVET for implementation of the TVET in Indonesia. This is the main objective of revitalizing vocational education and vocational training. So one of Indonesia can quickly respond to the industry current and future needs for a skilled workforce, prepare a productive, competent, and competitive workforce. So right now we establishing the coordination level with not only from the government but also from the industry and also from the academic background. So and then the second one to coordinate all the TVET management institutions to synergize in achieving vocational education and vocational training according to industry needs efficiently and systematically. And then the third one is ensuring the Indonesian workforce has the necessary skills to support country's industrial growth. This is our collaboration right now for the human capital development. One of them is from GIZ, Germany, with more focus on the TVET sector. And then the other one is from the World Bank. They help us to assist us to make some labor market information system, and also the critical occupancy list for Indonesia 2030. And then from the ASEAN Development Bank, also they help us for industry-led learning network for upskilling training assistance for new job seekers. And also from ILO, IHK Trier. IHK Trier is also strongly support us for especially for the in-company trainer with the international standard or German standard for TVET. And also from Prospera, this is the Australian aid for tracer studies for polytechnic graduate, and also the future skills and gender perspective in TVET. So we have two tracks. One of the long term, how to revitalization of the TVET, and also one of the shortcut one. The shortcut one we are doing through the program Kartu Prakerja or pre-employment card. The program Kartu Prakerja is the innovation in public employment services in effort to develop and improve Indonesia human capital skills. It's launched in 2020, and right now we already have 16.4 million alumni nationwide. So it's end-to-end digital platform from from the register until they get some course by online. In the ecosystem of the Kartu Prakerja, we have all the partners from not only the education side, the supply side, but also from the fintech, the working labor platform, job portal, digital platform, and so on and so on. So it's only 3 years, but it's already have 16.5 million alumni. And the program itself is inclusive, so all the 514 regencies in Indonesia is already have the alumni for the Kartu Prakerja, which half female participants and also half the male participants. And also we also encourage the disabled person to join the program. The program is consists 161 training subject with the 56 training providers. So it's huge ecosystem right now, but we manage that since 2020, and then hope that we can go through for the next years. Okay, that's all for me as the introduction and as some background about the TVET in Indonesia, not only for the long-term approach, but also from the short-term approach through the Kartu Prakerja. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Rudy. Give applause to Pak Rudy. Thanks a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can see Pak Rudy is clearly giving the message that how is the existing condition on the deployment of the human capital in Indonesia with the government program, and also several the short-term and long-term activity that we are really open to collaborate with all the stakeholders to support the human capital development in Indonesia. So the next, I will give the time for Ibu Dr. Insinyur Kiki Yuliati MSc. So if I can read a bit, Bu, your profile. Bu Kiki today is our Director General of the Vocational Education that was born in Bandung and start her career at Sriwijaya University as a lecturer. And Bu Kiki complete her undergrad degrees from the Bogor Agriculture Institute of Technology, and then also her master program from North Carolina State University. And in 2001, she received a scholarship from the government of the Republic Indonesia to continue her doctoral degree program in Bogor Agriculture Institute in the field of agriculture industrial technology. So Bu Kiki will talk and share with us about how the educational sector support in preparing competent human resource to embrace the industrial era 4.0. So time is yours, Bu.
Thank you, Pak Fadli. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to present what is being done in Indonesia in terms of vocational education policies, and we are transforming our educational, especially vocational education. As we all know that COVID-19 pandemic was hit our economic globally, including Indonesia. However, since 2021, digital economy in Indonesia growth in about 22%, and it's predicted to be doubled in 2024. Therefore, it is Indonesia to contribute in digital economy in Asia. We are growing even though we are having this pandemic situation, and thanks to our economic fundamentals that is strong enough that can make Indonesia survive the pandemic very well, and we are recovering fast. To support our economic growth, our education system should be transformed. Why? Because we realize that our educational system, in terms of national education system, are lack of many things, and we are facing very huge gap between the graduates from our education system and the industry's requirement. So we are transforming our education system, and we have this umbrella policy we call Merdeka Belajar, and we call it Merdeka Belajar, we know it as emancipated learning. These are the challenges we are facing, as Pak Rudi mentioned before, that we have future job revolution challenges, as we are exhibiting now, 4.0, we are making Indonesia 4.0, so that is one of our challenge. And we have this very, very challenging productivity in terms of human resources productivity. We have 72% of productive age in the populations, but the education level is very limited. Another challenges is about our food sovereignty challenges, because we are huge country with huge populations, so we have to overcome to make sure that we have this food sovereignty in place in Indonesia. Okay. Emancipated learning, as I mentioned before, the transformation in the educations, we transform almost everything in our education. First, the ecosystem. We change from learning is a mandatory to learning becomes a fun experience. We want our students to enjoy the learning process. Why? Because we want them to be the lifelong learning learners. And then we make our education system to be open system. It means that we are inviting stakeholders, external stakeholders, to be part in our education system, including the industries. And we are transforming our teachers. We are making our teachers to be facilitators in learning activities instead of lecturers mainly only lecturing. We want them to be facilitators. And then we are encouraging our students and our campuses, our schools, to learn in project-based learning. We are changing our curriculum. We listen more to industries about what we have to set in our curriculum, and then we change our evaluation system. Previously, we have mandatory national tests, national examinations. We call it ujian nasional. It means that examination nationally standardized, and then we stopped doing that, and then now we are doing the exam, the formative, supportive system in assessment to make sure that the examination is used to improve the learning process, to improve the curriculum, and to improve the strategy of learning. The transformation in the learning ecosystem. We are doing it with the SMK Center of Excellence. SMK is senior high school in vocational areas, and we are developing Center of Excellence in SMKs. We have 1,400 SMKs, Center of Excellence, covering about 28% of our students. We have about 5 million students in senior schools, in vocational senior schools, and we are covering 28% of them in Center of Excellence SMKs. We are successful to ask about $294,000 investment from industries, and we are also inviting 349 industries to collaborate with these 1,400 SMKs. We transform our learning in vocational high schools to improve alignment with the world of job-related and industries, and we improve the strategy and the learning process by inviting the industries to collaborate with our SMKs directly. And transforming in learning ecosystem for higher education, we call it MBKM, Emancipated Learning for Higher Education. We sent massively. Now it's about 500,000 students being sent to industries, being sent to external entities to have certified internship and independent studies. And we also sent our students abroad to have ISMA, Indonesian International Student Mobility Awards. They are sent for 6-month period of learning to these universities abroad to study and to intern, to have internship in the industries globally. And the transformation in research ecosystem with industries, this perhaps will be interesting for the industrial entities, because we match every dollar invested by the industry who are going to do research in collaboration with our campuses. So the government of Indonesia provide matching fund, we call it matching fund program. $1 from the industries will be matched $1 from the government to do the research in collaborations with our campuses. And we hope that from these collaborations, we can get more downstreaming research result applied to the industries. And we are critical roles in TVET, as Pak Rudi mentioned, the transformation in vocational education even more significant because there is a commitment from our president. He made this revitalization, the presidential regulations for revitalization of vocational education and training. And here in this Hannover Messe event, we bring several higher education institutions and one SMKs that SMK is presenting their skill in animation, and they also have a fashion design program. The fashion design program, students from fashion design program has sent their product to Europe. They sell the product, and one of them, I'm wearing one of them, their design. We are proud of this very, very young generation, and hopefully we are inviting industrial entities to collaborate with us in terms of learning, teaching and learning process, and also in research collaborations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and give applause to Bu Kiki. So we invited, like what Bu Kiki mentioning a lot about the, I can feel that have a lot of innovation and education, especially for vocational, like what you are mentioned just now. And I invited all the audience to ask the question. So after the last presentation from Mr. Luke, so we are really invite all of you to come with us together to ask the question that from Parudi and also Bu Kiki and Mr. Luke at the end of the session. So thank you very much, Bu Kiki, and also giving time to promote that we have a lot of university, vocational poly, and also the vocational school that come to this hall and showcasing and sharing about what is the activity that we have in Indonesia. All right, now is the time for Mr. Luke Leveren. So Mr. Luke is a degree as an engineer in the microelectronic, especially in the chip design. So I think this is another relation point that Parudi mentioning, the need of the human capital, and especially in the manufacturing. And one of our focus in Indonesia onward is about the semiconductors. And we are very glad to have you here, Mr. Luke, which is Mr. Luke is coming from the IMEX, Belgium, and he will share with us, let me open the topic, which is a very interesting topic. Mr. Luke will share about the development of the next generation of a semiconductor technology. So this is something that really relevant with us, and as a country we are want to focus more on that. As an experience, I'm coming from the industry. Last time we have a lot of issue because of the chip shortage and etc. And we know that we have not too much, we still have a gap of the capability on the semiconductor, especially the things that I'm sure that you can share something for us. And this is the beginning of the collaboration later on also with IMEC. So the time is yours, Mr. Luke.
Thank you. So as you can see, my name is Luc Laveren, and I'm working now for 36 years at IMEC already. A little bit information about myself and about IMEC. So IMEC has been launched by the Flemish government, so the north part of Belgium, which we are Dutch speaking there. It has been launched by the Flemish government and is called Inter-University Microelectronics Center. Why inter-university? Because making one lab on microelectronics or on semiconductor only for one university would be just overkill. So here is a collaboration started at that time, almost 40 years ago, for the 5 universities of Flanders at that time. So that is one point to remind, because later on in my speech I will tell you what I think is the best way to go forward for Indonesia as well. Today, at the time that I started in 1987, I was about 240 people over there. Today we are more than 5,000, and we have collaborations with other research centers, with universities. We have offices around the world already. And today, so more than 5,000 people, more than 95 nationalities are working there, including Indonesian people as well. We have a lot of square meters of clean room, meaning that we can do some tests and research really on the materials itself. We have about more than 800 PhDs in collaboration with 5 universities, more than 50 postdocs every year. And the grant from the government, in the beginning it was of course 100% because there was no income from other parts. Today it is only 20% that needs to come from a grant from the government. All the rest is revenue from contractors, from the industry that are working together with us. At that same time as IMEC launched, there was also an educational program launched. And that was because there were too few students being trained to make chips, to design the chips. So that educational program was started for master students, industrial engineer it was called, in chip design. And 2 years later, after that introduction, 2 years later, I was one of the first batch coming out as an industrial engineer on chip design. This is our headquarters in Leuven, in Belgium. So there are several labs and foundry equipped tooling is over there for different sections. We still have a 200 millimeter clean room. There we do the more than more technologies, meaning on CMOS technology, you can add high voltage parts, you can add non-volatile memory parts, and so on and so forth. That can be done over there. We have an RF and high power lab, so gallium nitride and so on is over there. Hyperspectral imaging, hyperspectral cameras for agriculture, for instance. We also, of course, have a 300 millimeter clean room where we have all the state-of-the-art tools to develop the next generation of chips and technologies. So today, 3 nanometer is in use already at TSMC, for instance, one of the biggest fabs in the world, or the biggest fab in the world. Today we are working on a couple of atoms on wide technologies, transistors, and so on. So now it is a few electrons that will say whether it's a 0 or a 1 in a digital state. We also have nerve labs, that is for neuroscience, materials and devices, and of course every chip needs to be tested or every wafer needs to be tested, so there's also test equipment. Apart from that, we also have biolabs, so we do also health tech developments. Today we are working on an ingestible pill that can detect diseases, so it's not only a pill that makes photographs of your intestine, but it is really that can monitor whether there is cancer available inside or not. So what are the application domains where we do some research on it? Smart health, like a health patch. Instead of having an ECG done at a hospital, you can just add a patch to it. That patch is giving the information to your cellular phone, and you can just submit the data to your doctor or to the hospital. That's one of the things. Smart mobility. We are working on the next generation of ADAS systems to be added to a car. Smart cities, smart industries, smart energy, working on the next generation lithium-ion batteries, for instance, or the highest power available solar cells that are available. Smart infotainment like AR and VR glasses. Smart agro-food, and by the use of those hyperspectral cameras, we can detect whether fruit is already ready for harvesting, yes or no, and how much it will gain from 1 hectare of agriculture, for instance, and smart application. So we started off in Belgium at the headquarters in Leuven only, but today we are in the Netherlands at 2 locations. We are in Japan, in China, in India we have persons. We have 2 facilities in, well actually 3 in the US. So that is where we started and where we are now. Let me give a brief introduction to the silicon technology evolution over the past years. So in 87, when I started, it was 3 micron. 3 micron technology. Today we are 3 nanometers. So in 35 years, it's scaling of 1,000 times. That is really incredible. If you see to the left side on 0.18 micron, you see 8-inch. That means that there were the 200 millimeter or 8-inch technologies. Then it became 12-inch because of the scale of economics. It was much better to grow the wafer dimensions. But we are still in planar technology, meaning that the transistors can be scaled as much as you like with any WL ratio that you would like to design. And then from 60 nanometers onwards, there we have the FinFET technologies. FinFET technologies means that there is no unlimited scaling possible, but you need an extra fin for gradual increasing the WL ratio of a transistor. Keep this in mind because at a later stage I will come back to this. If we look at the cost breakdown versus technologies for designing a chip to the level on which you can go to volume production, you see that starting for the FinFET technologies, there is a giant race in the amount of money you need to be able to make a chip. You need much more people. You need much more licenses. The licenses are more expensive. You need other hardware to make it, and so on and so forth. So it increases incredibly. The introduction of Europractice in Europe, after we started in IMEC, they saw what we were doing over there, and then there was a European plan launched by the European government, and that was launched in '89, so only 5 years after the start of IMEC. And in '95 it was rebranded from Eurochip to Europractice. And for instance, Fraunhofer Institute here in Germany, in Erlangen, they are a partner of us in this Europractice initiative. So it's a consortium of people giving access to technologies, real technologies, commercial technologies available. TSMC is one of our partners in there, that students, university students, can access these technologies. So we have about 450 universities that we serve, 180 research centers from the 44 countries in the EMEA region. We also have universities from the US, from Taiwan, from South Africa, from Brazil, everywhere as well, but they cannot benefit from the deduction because the government, the European government gives some money. So the people from the EU, the universities from the EU, of course, they can have a benefit of less money they have to pay to get the chips made. What the situation is today in Indonesia, I met, for instance, together with BIA, the Benelux Indonesia Association, where Johan is here also available, of the chairman of BIA. I met with Professor Trio Adiono from ITB. I met with Dean Eddie Purnama, over there and Austria from ITS. And they were using today, it's an initiative from Google, and it's called Build Custom Silicon with Google. It's free of charge. You're using open source licenses for the EDA tools, so the tools that you need to install to make the chips, to design the chips, and you get free silicon from either of these two processes. That's Global Foundry 180 or Skywater 130 in the US. There's one big issue, of course. Open source means that also your design needs to be open source. You give actually your idea away to the public, meaning there is no path to commercialization, and there is no path to advanced technologies, because they will not give you access to 28 nanometers, these guys. So that's a big issue. So our proposal is focus on 12-inch technologies. The other technologies that I just showed were what I would call older technologies. And so if you focus on 12-inch technologies, you are much more ahead of the rest of the world. This can be done by, for instance, a consortium together with the University of Leuven. The University of Leuven already has done designs 28 nanometers, 16 nanometers, so the more advanced technologies, they have knowledge about it. They also use EDA tools, commercial EDA tools. Cadence is one of them, Siemens Mentor is one of them, Synopsys is one of them. We would propose to give train-the-trainer courses here in Indonesia to a bunch of universities which have a curriculum on semiconductor or wants to start with a semiconductor curriculum. Technology information courses. What is the difference between designing in 180 nanometers versus designing in 22 nanometers? We can send fresh students from Indonesia to Belgium, for instance, to the KU Leuven. The only problem there is that only after 5 years they are graduated as a master student, and then only then come back. If we can do first train-the-trainer courses in Indonesia, here the professors in Indonesia will all have the knowledge then to do this design. PhD at IMEC can also be done. And why not start an initiative like IndoPractice? That would be a copy of Europractice, but only for the Indonesian universities. Of course, there needs to be some grant from the Indonesian government to start this program. So focus on this area, the planar technologies of 12 inch, and there a lot of chips can be made for that would serve applications ready for the Indonesian industry. For industrial customers, what we do is we have access to the technologies like TSMC, for instance, and whether you can start everything from IC spec down to the design and implementation can then be done and handled by university or spin-offs from universities. Later on, what I would suggest is to invest in packaging design and packaging assembly, because there the costs of making new factories is much less than it would cost to start a complete fab in Indonesia. There we are talking about tens of billions of investment to be able to start there. And this is not the way to go for the first 5 to 10 years. But you can do the inside tunnel, you can do yourself, and what I would call the outside tunnel of chip making, that could be done in Indonesia. For instance, UTAC is a company doing packaging and test, which already have a factory in Indonesia. If you want to know more about us, we have an ITF World coming up next month on the 16th and the 17th of May. And that will be held in Antwerp. You have there the website. You can register there and could come over, and we can talk there on initiatives that we could do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give applause to Mr. Luke. Thanks a lot, Luke. You are mentioning a lot about the semiconductors situation and also how we need to prepare
Yeah.
the human capital readiness in the futures. And it's glad to hear also that you already discussed and have some engagement with the university in Indonesia, and you open to have some proposed that you are very clear mentioning just now on the collaboration. So thanks a lot, Mr. Luke. Again, I'm really invited all the audience. If you have any question for these three panelists here, to ask any question for them. But before the question from the audience, I would like to continue the same flowing topic, Pak Rudy. So just now is Luke mentioning a lot about the semiconductors point of view. So how does the Indonesian government respond on this point to the need for the human resource to develop the semiconductors industry in Indonesia, Pak Rudy?
Yes, Pak Fadli. Jadi, sorry, I think the semiconductor and chips is the future of the world, also the future of Indonesia. So we think it's very important to prepare all the human resources to catch up with the technology itself. So that's why the government of Indonesia developed some digital capability centers. One of them is from the Ministry of Industry. It's called PD 4.0 in Jakarta. So they also prepare for the needs of the human resource in context to the chips and the semiconductor. And also we develop one digital capability centers in Batam Island. This is next to the Singapore Island. So they have all the technology things in Nongsa Digital Park, and they have also Apple Academy, the IBM Academy there. So we want to develop as well the semiconductor for in the future. So for the involvement of the private sectors, we also offers the incentive for the private sectors to do some, not only some research, but also some implementation or helping the government for the preparing the human research development in TVET, in the vocational training and education. The incentive itself consists of 300% tax deductible for research, and then 200% tax deductible for helping us to preparing the vocational training and education. It can be making the apprenticeship or making the curriculum for the vocational training and education, and also factory, what is it, factory, teaching factory, helping us building the teaching factory, etc. So we work for that part because we know that's this one is important things for Indonesia in the future.
Thank you very much, Pak Rudy. Yeah, I remember that we launched this the government rule PP 45 and PMK 128 for the resource, the human capability, and also for the research PP 45 PMK 152. So this is one of the serious focus program for the government to support the adoption of the technology and to support the industry for the research and development. and also for the human capital development. Thank you very much, Pak Rudy, for that message. And for Bu Kiki, so when we look on that incentive and also the program that the government, especially to giving the, I can say, the motivating for the industry to collaborate with the university. But one of the challenges always also about the behaviors of the student itself and the generation of the student itself. So how can the vocational education in Indonesia now is built and transform the life of the student and the graduates in the future for Indonesia, Bu Kiki?
Thank you, Pak Fadli. And I'd like to add more information on what Pak Rudy just mentioned about the national strategies and policies on digital transformation, semiconductors. We dedicate 2 state polytechnics, State Polytechnics Electronic in Surabaya. It's dedicated to do the education and research on electronics and so forth, high-tech technology, electronics technology. And another one is State Polytechnics in Batam to support Nongsa, industrial park, digital park, in addition with many others, polytechnics and universities. So how can vocational education in Indonesia build and transform the lives of students and graduates? Firstly, we transform the system of the learning strategies in our schools and campuses to be student-centered learning, focus to make the studies and the learnings fun for the students. And also we support the students with many scholarships. And we also, of course, with the support of our industries, they also provide scholarship for internships and also for many other teaching factories in many high schools and many campuses built by the industries to to do the learning process in our students. And we also implement 3 values in our vocational education systems. First value is educational value. It means that that vocational education system should prepare our students to be good citizenship, to be good citizens. And the second value is economic value. It means that vocational education should align with the economic growth in the area, supported by specific schools or campuses. And the third value is social value. It means that vocational education graduates should bring benefit to their society. So with these 3 values, we transform our vocational education to improve and transform the lives of students and graduates.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Kiki, for the explanation. And Mr. Lu, if you look on this statement from our government, from the Ministry of Digital Economic and also from the Vocational Directorate, so how do you think about this statement point of view relate on the focus on the semiconductors development for the human capital in Indonesia? Mr. Lu.
Yes, what I think is that if these centers are built and can be used by different universities, then it will be a good thing, I think, because the investment on EDA tool licenses, hardware that you would need to design those chips, it will be hard to be done by just one university. So if you can, the economy of scale is also here important, that you can use it for many more students than the students that want to learn about semiconductor industry of one university will not be enough to handle all these things. So I would suggest make some kind of a center, inter-university center, just like IMEC was in the beginning, and then from there you can scale much easier, and the cost will also go down per person that is using the software, is using EDA tools, is using hardware, lab infrastructure, test equipment, and so on and so forth. Okay.
All right, thanks, Luke. So, yeah, it's really clear your message that it's cannot be only the every single university to use on that, and the collaboration is one of the key on that portion. Sure. So, if I can come back again to Pak Rudy, talking about the reality, the industry is very dynamic, Pak. And if we look also about the change of the technology at this era is very rapidly changed a lot. So yesterday I buy one model of phone, and the next year maybe it's changed again, and we need to catch up this change, because as a big country like Indonesia, we know that the technology used by the industry is very often changed. As a result, the need of the workforce competency, and in my word, anticipation skill is need to be ready before the change. So how does the government prepare the workforce need for the future for Indonesia on this situation of the change, Pak?
Okay. Thank you, Pak Fadli. First of all, we all know that the technology is transformed so fast. But the human resource is not accompanied by the human resource, the preparing of the human resource, and preparing the human resource is not the instant implementation. So I think there's the mismatch there in that situation. So the governments in Indonesia preparing with the labor market information system. Right now we are developing the labor market information system under the Ministry of Manpower. So we know what's the critical jobs that we need to fulfill for the next 10 or 15 years ahead. And then we also, with assisting from the World Bank, we also have the critical occupancy list that I already mentioned before. So we know what kind of jobs that we need for the next 10 years. So that's why we are preparing one by one in the critical occupancy list. It consists of, if I'm not mistaken, around 30 jobs that we are now have to prepare. The Indonesian government to have to prepare to catch up the technology for the future.
Thanks a lot, Pak Rudy. It's really clear that we in Indonesia is prepared on that, and you are mentioning about 30 new job will be required a lot in Indonesia, and I think this kind of event is one of the way that we can meet all the stakeholders like IMEC, and we can look on the preparation on that kind of the anticipation skill. So any question from the floor? Yes. Yeah, one question from this side. Somebody can help for the microphone.
Thank you.
Ya, silakan Pak.
Selamat siang Pak. Good afternoon. Thank you. Mostly I just want to say to look, you are welcome to Indonesia, and we are gearing up the same way that you just present is like makes me a bit a goosebump. So I'm Jujianto from Polytron. So would like to have you in Indonesia. So after this, let me share my name card and talk to you in depth more and more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is a good feedback immediate, Mr. Lu, for you. Thank you very much, Pak Jogianto. So any other question? Yes?
To Pak Luke, my name is Uuf. I'm from Polytechnic Negeri Batam, already mentioned by Bu Kiki, and we have some small facilities on semiconductor, Pak, and it is on packaging and also testing. And I think responding to your proposal, you already have met with Pak Trio and one professor from ITS. I think the puzzle of the semiconductor research in Indonesia, I think still missing some pieces there, and I think with the hand of the iMac, I think it will complete the puzzle. And I think I'm welcoming you to visit after from Polytron. Then you can come to Batam. But we live in Batam. It's about 50 minutes by ferry from Singapore, and there is a big giant semiconductor company, Infineon, and also Flextronic, and some of. I think the ingredient is there, and looking forward to collaborate further. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you.
You want to share some talk related with their comment, Mr. Luke? It's your pleasure.
Well, the one comment that I would share there is I know about Infineon over there, so of course they are interested in skilled people to work there, maybe getting bigger and bigger. The drawback can also be probably that they only want skilled people to work there, if you know what I mean. Do they want people that would design their own chip, their own IP, developing their own company and selling and being a competitor? That is something else, of course. That is why I would focus on leave wafer manufacturing what it is today. It's South Korea, it's Taiwan, it's a little bit US, it's a little bit Europe, a little bit Malaysia, and then you have it, more or less. The thing is, because if you want to invest in such a thing, in a wafer fabric, yeah, what kind of technology are you going to offer there? Is TSMC willing to invest in Indonesia? Is Samsung I doubt it. At this moment, I doubt it. But if you can do the tunnel before wafer manufacturing, which is design, that you can do. The investments are much less. If you can do packaging and test after wafer manufacturing, also there the investments, although quite substantial, but they are still less than making a 15 or $50 billion wafer fab, of course. So that is why we propose first the tunnel on the inside, the design itself. Later on, you can take over from wafer to packaging, dicing, packaging, testing, and then you have already a big industry if you leave out the wafer manufacturing itself, because a lot of US companies, Apple is not making chips in the US, they are all in Taiwan and in TSMC. So, and they are one of the biggest companies in the world today. So it doesn't mean that you cannot be big in semiconductor industry if you are not having the wafer fab. That is what I wanted to say. And there in Indonesia, I have met those people. Those people are very enthusiastic. They have the know-how. They have PhDs from either Taiwanese universities, European universities, US universities. They have the skills, they have the know-how. They just don't have the money to just make a prototype in TSMC 28 nanometers. Although it is, what is it, $20,000 to $40,000. In chip industry, it's not a lot of money. But for Indonesian universities, it's a giant amount today. And if funding is prepared for that, then I think it's a kickoff and we can make a very nice industry in Indonesia.
Yeah, thanks, Pak. Look, yeah, it's correctly. I'm really highlighted when you are mentioning about the number of people that needed and also about the license needed. I think that's also one of the highlighted point that you are mentioning. Normally, is if we have this, if we become part of the ecosystem, then we have more license in Indonesia. Then this is part of the needs from the industry. I think that's the point that it's really interesting also, not only to train the people, but to get the authorization for the license for that. I think that's the good point, Pak. Okay, any other question? Yes. Okay, before I go for my question, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Rogelio from Mexico. My question is, how do you see your position in terms of labor force, in terms of attraction of investment for Indonesia? Talking about your position about the war.
What is it? Sorry.
I don't know if it is clear or not. Your position in terms of labor force with the competence in the war, labor force and attraction of investment. You know, the advantages that Indonesia offers to the new investors.
Bu Kiki dan Pak Rudi, silakan. Ibu dulu, silakan.
Thank you for the question. Our strategy is to prepare our human resources in such a way that is aligned and relevant to our investors. So we work closely, Ministry of Education, work closely with Ministry in economic sectors and Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Trade and Ministry of Labor Force. We work closely and then we make the plan and then we set up the system, the educational schools and campuses to match the requirement of the industries, and also we respond promptly to the need to the investors. Let's say one investors in Morowali, right? It's a smelter industries, mining. Big company from China. They ask about thousands of human resources, and as they build the industry, we prepare our schools and campuses to prepare our human resources. That's one of our strategy. As the industry build their factories, their plants, we prepare our human resources. Yeah, accordingly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bu Kiki, for the answers. Is there any question? Yes.
Thank you, Pak Fadli. So my name is Yoko from Ministry of Industry. My question will be especially for Pak Deputy and Ibu Director General. So as we know, as you may see, Pak dan Bu, as you already hear and also experience that participant in Hannover Messe is cope up with the very high tech and they are growing and feeling so fast, but the technology of 4.0. And I'm sure and I do believe that the participant of industry in this event from Indonesia as well will also speed up to keep up with the technology. So my question would be, what do you have in mind, Pak Deputy dan Ibu Director General, what we should do in Indonesia to make sure that the industry will catch up and speed up with the industry 4.0 technology, get the professions, the incompetent 4.0 skill set to help the industry at least for next Hannover Messe 2024, so we can come up with the idea or the result that from the human capital 4.0 developments we managed to cope up with the need of the industry, especially in 4.0. Thank you, Pak.
Okay, thank you, Pak. So I think for me is once again we have to focus on what we have to develop, not all the industry that we have to prepare, but I think we have to choose which industry that we want to focus for the next future. For example, we already know that Ministry of Industry already choose seven subsectors for the Industry 4.0. Okay, just focus on that sectors. We have to prepare from the beginning. What we have to make it strengthen in the field of the STEM or the mathematics or the analytic and quantitative. So and then after that we have to make some curriculum with the industry, and then after that we develop all the human resource. I know that it's not instant, but I believe with the strong support of the industry and the academic community, I think it's we can go together.
Thank you, Pak Yoko. In our Ministry of Education, there is a policy. We call it emancipated learning, and we send massively our students to do internships and independent studies with the real project-based learning. And with that policy, actually, we invite the industries to be mini university. With the technology they have, our students can learn from them, from the industry. With many industries being mini universities, it means that we are co-creating our education system in such a way that our schools, our campuses can be aligned with the need of our industries. And we also invite collaboration in research in those 7 priorities sectors in industries. We support the collaboration in research with our universities. Therefore, we can have this R&D process in place to support the industry to catch up with the technology they need. That's our policy. Yeah.
Thank you, Bu Kiki. So the last question for the panelists I have for Bu Kiki here is what are the expectation of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology for this participation in the Hannover Messe from point of view, Bu Kiki?
Okay, the message we are conveying through this participation in this Hannover Messe is that our education system is transforming, and we are getting ready, we are preparing to contribute more productively in making Indonesia 4.0, and we are also inviting the businesses, entities to collaborate with our schools and campuses. And also, Pak Luke, we have 7 centers to prepare our teachers in vocational education. Probably IMEC will be interested in a collaboration to set up one center of excellence to prepare and to train our teachers in semiconductors technology. And this is the purpose of our presence here, is to present that education system in Indonesia is welcoming the industries to be mini universities in collaborations with our educational schools, with our campuses and schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Give applause to our panelists here. So we discuss and we get a lot of share from Mr. Luke, from Bu Kiki, from Parudi, how is the situation of the human capital in Indonesia and how we in Indonesia is ready for that. And also we are really open on collaboration with all the stakeholders to bring more investing on the human capital for industrial competitiveness. Again, give applause for all. Thank you very much and good afternoon.